welcome to the Smart Publishing Impact Series. I'm Renée Lautermilch, Chief Editor at Smart Publishing, and this is the podcast where we explore all things writing, publishing, and the impact of storytelling. In each episode, I'll share insights and strategies to help you navigate the book journey, whether you're writing, publishing, or already an author. Plus, you'll hear from inspiring authors who are using their book to change lives. And if you're passionate about storytelling and ready to make an impact, be sure to subscribe, rate, and review. Now let's get started. Hello, and welcome to another episode of the Smart Publishing Impact Series. I'm Renée Lautermilch, your host and Chief Editor at Smart Publishing, and today is episode 35, Why You Shouldn't Pick a Release Date Until Your Book is Finished. So this is something that I'm surprised I haven't done yet because it's a really important topic. I will start this by saying we at Smart Publishing, we help people to get from just an idea of a book to best-selling published author in 6 months. So I'm not saying that you cannot expedite the process and that, writing a book can't be a pretty quick process so that it doesn't have to be this lengthy thing that takes years and years and years to do, which is what we are typically told all the time. It takes years to write a book. It really doesn't. I have had authors write entire manuscripts in 5 weeks. I myself wrote The 1 Hour Author in, I think it was like 2.5 months, so a matter of weeks there. So it's not, I'm not saying that you shouldn't pick a release date for your book before your book is finished, because I don't believe that it can't be a quicker process. But it's really the wise thing to do. So let me get into why sometimes people pick a release date for their book before it's finished. I think that there's a lot of folks out there who are sort of the hey, I work well under pressure types, and just psychologically, if you're wired that way, sometimes you feel like you have to have something that is pushing you to get things done. The problem with this in publishing is you're not responsible for absolutely everything. Therefore, you do not have control over everything. The only thing you have control over is getting your manuscript finished, but you do not have control over how fast how fast your formatter works and how quickly it takes them to get to an error-free version of your book. You don't have control over your cover designer and how fast it takes to get to a cover that you're really happy with and satisfied with. You do not have control over the publishing platform and issues happening with the quality assurance checks where you might get a send back because you had something in your design layout that was out of margin. So there's a lot of different things that can happen that are outside of your control, to where if you have a looming release date and these things still aren't done, now you've just put your back into the wall and you risk either having to forego your release date, which makes you, look like you don't know what you're doing, or you're a mess, or having to release with a subpar version of your book that you're not completely happy with because you got the proof back, we'll just say, a couple of days before your release, and now as you're reading the proof, and I tell authors this happens every single time, there are typos and mistakes that you will find in print form that you will never find in digital form. I don't know what it is, but everybody will, you can have 100 eyes look at the same thing in digital form and they won't see it. You'll spot it the second you see it in print form. It's like this whole phenomenon. And you'll be seeing this thing where you're like, oh my gosh, I need to get this fixed. Well, guess what? Your files are locked about 4 to 5 days before your scheduled publishing date. So you can't even go and update them if you wanted to. And so there's a lot of these different things that come up. And so if you're this psychological type to where you have to have, some sort of date looming, I would say, one thing that you can do is you can make a date commitment to your publisher or your editor of when you will have the manuscript to them. So now you're still committed, you're still accountable to something, and you've put it out there to someone other than yourself. So find something else that doesn't potentially back you into a wall to set that pressure up on. And the best thing that you can do is have weekly pressure of scheduling your time to write or record for transcription and holding yourself to making that time. That's really the best thing that you can do, because oftentimes the personality type that needs that level of pressure is also the personality type that will procrastinate something that they don't want to do. And so that's why they have to set that up. But the best thing that you can do is get consistent and really feel the pressure every single week for that calendar invite. Set it up as a calendar invite with yourself. If you need added accountability, add somebody else to the calendar invite just for visibility. If I was your editor, add me to the calendar invite. I'm not going to show up, but I'm going to check in with you and I'm going to say, hey, how did writing go today? So there's some sort of built in pressure and accountability. So I just wanted to address that mindset first, because I understand that that's a big reason that a lot of people want to set that release date. I think another reason that people set release dates in advance is they're just excited and they've never been through this process before, so they don't understand all the different hangups that can stall a project like this. And so they don't know everything involved in getting a book to its final, complete, and error-free form. And I would say grossly underestimate the amount of things that could potentially go wrong or hang up. And so if you've never released a book before, err on the side of caution. Either set something that's far enough in advance to where, easy, you're going to have plenty of time to be able to go back and forth with your designers, fix errors, do whatever needs to be done. Another thing that hangs people up a lot is waiting forever on their forward writer to finally finish their forward. And so that's why I always recommend the second you start writing a book, think about who you want to write your forward. All they really need is the introduction or even just the first chapter to your book to just get the essence of what your book is about and a feel for it. That really should be all they need. I have rarely heard of a forward writer wanting to read the entire book before writing the forward. Usually they just want to see some sort of summary that gives them a good feel for what the book is about. And an introduction is a really, really great one for that. So really you only need to have one or two sections written to go ahead and engage your forward writer. Engage them early. Ask for that forward early, because I will tell you, I have seen time and time again forward writers vastly stall the process of getting a book complete. I'm talking taking weeks, if not months, to write 2 pages. So, and to, the forward writers who are really busy people, hey, I get it. But on the other hand, I'm pretty sure that for Healing in the Wild, we got a forward from the president of PGA of America. He did it in like 2 days. Don't tell me that guy's not busy. So, everybody has their priorities, and Don Ray Jr. is a cool dude. He's awesome. He made it happen. So much respect to him. So let's talk about now all the things that can stall your book's completion, despite you having this scheduled release date. Well, there's the first thing that can stall it, your forward writer. So, like I said, one trick there, engage them as early on in the process as you can, so that you're not left waiting weeks or even months for them to finish a forward. I've even seen people have to make the decision to get somebody else to write their forward, or even just not have a forward altogether. And that wasn't their initial vision, And so a book is a major thing. You want it to match your initial vision. So engage them early on. Something else that can stall is cover design. Now, cover design, I've not seen this stall very often. But if you don't have a clear vision that you can provide to your designer for what you're looking for, or if you just don't hire the right designer, somebody who's just not getting it, then you can have a lot of revision requests going back and forth and ping ponging around. Now, the way that you prevent cover from holding you up is number one, you hire a solid cover designer. You need to look at their portfolio first. You need to look at covers that they have designed. And you need to make sure that this person has designed for a platform like Amazon KDP before so they understand how to use cover templates from KDP Cover Calculator to create the proper spec'd and sized, paperback cover if you're going to have paperback, hardcover if you're going to have hardcover, so that you don't get sendbacks from the platform. So first, hire the right designer, somebody who's experienced with quality work that matches what you're looking for. And second, here's what we do. I don't send anything to my cover designer until I either have a good amount of visual references for them in the form of like inspiration type visual references. Or what I often work on with the author is I work in Chat GPT to create a cover render and get it as close as we possibly can, 80 to 90% of the way there, so that the cover designer can see mostly what you want, along with some added detail of like, hey, I don't like, it always puts terrible font on there. So like, hey, let's use this font instead of that font. And, I like this color instead of that color, whatever added details you need to make up that 20 to 10% that wasn't, 100% of the way there. So that is a really great way to work with your cover designer. They're going to get you a finished product much faster that way. Now, your interior formatter, besides your editor, has the biggest job, the biggest job, because they are having to make sure every detail of a 30,000, 60,000, 90,000, 120,000 forbid word manuscript is right. Every header, every bullet point, like every little thing, it's highly detailed work. So first of all, they're going to need like a week, week and a half, sometimes 2 weeks, based off of the breadth of your manuscript, how big it is. But also, and all the time I've been working with one of the best formatters in the business. This guy's awesome. Shout out to Sakib, our dude. That's our guy. He is incredible. And he has produced maybe two formatted manuscripts that we didn't have revision requests on because everything was perfect. That's two out of a whole lot. And that is not knocking him at all. He's one of the best, most highly detail oriented. That is just giving you a realistic outlook on just how detail oriented and how many things can get missed when you're going over something of that magnitude of individual detail down to a period. So you need time to be able to fully review that manuscript when you get it back from your formatter. I's dotted, T's crossed, periods at end of sentences. I'm talking about a detailed review. And still, like I said, until you have that proof copy in hand, there will be things where digitally we just can't see it digitally for some reason. I don't know why. It's just how it is for some reason. But you will have that time that it takes to get all the notes on there that you need to send it back to the formatter to make those little fixes, get it back, re-review. Sometimes these have to go back and forth 2 and 3 times, because and your second pass and your re-review pass, now you spotted something else that you didn't spot in your first pass. It happens. Again, it's a book. There's a lot of room for error in a book, right? So the formatting back and forth can take time. And after that, your next step, I would say, is you want to take your cover file and your interior design file, and you want to upload them into, I'm just going to use KDP as an example, Amazon KDP, that's where we publish. It has expanded distribution, so you can get in libraries, Barnes and Noble, and other places off of the KDP platform, but Amazon is responsible for over 60% of books sold worldwide. So that's why I always talk about Amazon KDP. It's the behemoth. Barnes and Noble, by comparison, is 18%, and that's both physical and online combined. So, anyways, rant aside, you are going to want to upload your files and order what's called a proof copy. This is a proof copy of an amazing new book that is going to be released on October 14th, Fostering Potential in People. Definitely watch my Facebook for more information about that. You want a copy. It's going to say not for resale on it, but you want the time to be able to order this. They're going to take about 3 to 5 days to get to you. Order a copy for somebody else too, who you can trust to go through. Me as an editor, I go through all of these as well. So if you have an editor who's willing to do that, order them a copy too. More eyes, the better. And then sit down and look at this, and you will find something. You will find something. There will absolutely be at least one thing, if not more, where you're like, how did I not see that? And now, guess what? You have to either go back to your formatter again if you still have them open for the job, or you will have to go and update your EPUB and your PDF files, which you can make minor updates for typos and things on those, and then re-upload those into your KDP. So you've got to have time for that too. Then I would say the last thing is the actual KDP publishing process. So you have to first, you're going to be blocked out from scheduling in advance about 4 or 5, I think it's roughly about 4 or 5 days before the date you choose. So if you're scheduling your release and you want to have a specific release day, you're going to have it uploaded at least 4 to 5 days in advance. For me, I have books silent publish a full week before a chosen launch date because we hit bestseller with every single one of our launches. And there's no bestseller if you don't have your book categories linked to your book sales page. And that can take up to 7 days after your book is published. And so that gives even more time that you need. So that's a buffer time of at least, roughly around 11 to 12 days that you need to have before your book is set to launch. So you've got to have that amount of time. Now, here's something that can happen. You can get through the AI quality checks that KDP's publishing console does when you upload your publishing files, your manuscript file, your cover files. You can pass those checks, but then it can get sent to review, and the human eye can spot something and do a send back to you. We have had this happen a total of once before. But again, the release date was so far in advance, we had plenty of time to fix it. And it was like one little thing was like slightly out of the margin, took us 2 seconds to fix and get it back in. But again, you just want to be able to give time to assume that the quality assurance process, which can take up to 72 hours, is going to send you back something. You're going to have one more thing that the AI checks couldn't spot that you have to fix. So ideally, you've got your stuff locked and loaded, ready to go weeks in advance. And it happens all the time too, where we've already done all of these things, and then all of a sudden, an author or myself, we spot something and we're like, oh, because it's not a typo. It's more of like an information based discrepancy. Let's just say a date is wrong in a reference somewhere. Like it wasn't 1976, it was 1975. Well, obviously, like no kind of AI check or proofreading check is going to catch that. That's a data inaccuracy. Okay, well, we don't want to look like we don't know what we're talking about, so we got to go back and fix that. And because we've got all this time before our launch date, then we can go in, fix that, upload the manuscript files. Because here's the last thing I'll say: your manuscript files are going to be locked. You cannot upload a new version of those several days. I think it's about 3 or 4 days before your launch. And actually, you know what? one more thing before I leave off here, a really big thing. If you plan on ordering author copies because you're doing like a physical launch party, those author copies can take a long time to get to you. So that means that you need an error-free proof of your book accepted, good to go. You've got the error-free files because that's going to be all your author copies. They're going to be those files that you have uploaded into your KDP ready to go. Author copies can take about three to 4 weeks to arrive. The longest I've seen author copies take is 5 weeks. And that's because they prioritize full cost orders and they prioritize proofs. So proofs and full cost orders will go up faster. Author copies don't go out as fast because you're only paying print cost plus shipping for those. So it's just less of a priority for Amazon to get those out quickly. So that is another huge thing to know. So those are all the reasons that you don't want to set your back against a wall with pre-choosing a date for releasing your book. Ideally, what happens is after you get your proof copy and you've reviewed your proof copy, at that point where you're like, all right, cool, this looks good. Now pick your release date, and give yourself time for launch marketing. It takes time to make these things sticky. We usually do a 60-day launch marketing plan. Bare minimum, I wouldn't ever do any less than 30 days. Never any less than 30 days. 60 days is the sweet spot. So it's not just about getting your book done and having it available. I've also seen a lot of people do all of that and then they fail to have a really good, solid launch marketing plan with solid launch marketing timing, and then it's just crickets on their launch day and nobody's paying attention because they didn't take the time to build awareness and build commitment from people to get their book out during launch. So that is just as important in this whole process. So that's all that I have for today. And as always, if you are, not on my Facebook, feel free to reach out. Renée Lautermilch. You can search me on Facebook. That's where I am most. I'm the only Renée Lautermilch in the world, so I'm pretty easy to find. If you want to reach out to me, you can also go to smartpublishingservices.com. And as always, if you haven't subscribed to this show, what are you waiting for? Hit the subscribe button. Tell somebody you know who might be able to benefit from this as well so that they can also hit that subscribe button. And if you have 60 seconds, I would be so honored and appreciative if you would rate and review this show. It helps get it out in front of more listeners who can benefit from this content. And like I always say, until next week, and when I see you here again, keep writing your story because the world needs your voice.